Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we're looking at the top 8 deck lists for a 222 player event that took place on the 15th of February in Germany. The event was called SüdLore Meisterschaft. Definitely said that wrong, but that's the event name, and it was organised by Battle Bear, who we've covered in the past, but it was actually a joint venture between Battle Bear and Martin, who is a content creator on the Tintenvorrat podcast. Again, apologies for mispronunciations. But yeah, this was a joint venture between a lot of German Lorcana enthusiasts, card store owners, and they had a ton of sponsors from Cardmarket, Absolute, Objective Grading, GameGenic. So yeah, a lot went into this, and there was a prize pool of up to 6.5k. So this was a big event for Europe. America get a lot of like 1ks, 5ks, 10ks, which is great. You know, you love to see it. But in the EU, we don't really get as many tournaments that are like that large scale. So it's really awesome to get to see that this occurred. And it kind of comes with a bit of a sadness, to be honest, because I was invited to go to this event. Martin contacted me maybe a month or so ago, little over a month, but more like 5-6 weeks ago, and did invite me to come down, and was very generous in offering to cover my accommodation and a little bit towards my travel expenses to get there. Unfortunately, I just still wasn't able to make it work. I was super grateful that I was offered accommodation and a bit towards my expenses, but unfortunately, I'm still not really at that point of financial security, especially because if I don't get invited to do anything at Worlds, which there's a little bit of me that's still hanging on that I get invited to cast it, but realistically, I'm 95% sure that it's not going to happen. So I feel like if I am going to go, then I'm going to have to fund it myself, it's going to take a lot for me in my position. So in good faith, I couldn't really afford to go along, which was big sad, and I got serious FOMO. But I do want to say, I do want to shout out the Battle Bear event and Martin, who contacted me. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to make it work this time. I'm so desperate to do more events, but hopefully in the future we will be able to at some point. But nonetheless, the event looked amazing. Spessy was there and was streaming all of his games, which was awesome. I was checked into a lot of that stream, and it was also being streamed over on Twitch on the Slasher Twitch channel, which will be linked down below if you want to go and check it out yourself, as will Spessy's stream. But yeah, big old event, and a couple of well-known players in the room. DKP, the Melbourne DLC champion, and Jan Moyen, respected as one of the EU's best players, with a lot of accolades already to his name, and member of the Lorcana podcast. So yeah, there were names in the room that Lorcana enthusiasts will have been surely following throughout the event, and it actually ended up being a DKP versus Jan Moyen mirror match final. Nearly a complete mirror match, 3 cards different, but we're going to jump into the lists nonetheless. A shout out to the channel sponsor Cardmarket. If you're looking for Lorcana singles at competitive rates, then check out Cardmarket. But let's jump in and look at the top 8 deck lists. So in first place, one of the guests of the event, DKP, the Melbourne DLC champion himself, was able to take the dub running the exact same deck list that he ran and has since popularised at the Melbourne DLC, going a very different way to the way traditional Ruby Sapphire lists have looked for the last couple of sets, really. Not playing Tamatoa, not playing Lucky Dime, not using that as our quick jump lore engine. Instead, we are putting all of the emphasis onto, we've got 4 copies of McDuck Manor, which are of course awesome. We've got 4 copies of Super Goof for that out of nowhere burst lore, and we've got 4 copies of that Maui Shark, 6 cost inkable, 7/5 quest for 1. Evasive, when he challenges a character, you can add an action from your discard to your hand, and whenever you play an action, gain 1 lore. So these are going to be our primary ways that we're going to be ultimately winning the game. The only other things that we've got that are going to get us lore at all are questing with Tipo, Tala, and Flavisham, who all quest for 1. So Maui Shark, Goofy, and McDuck Manor are doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Of course, also we have to mention the 4 copies of Pirate's Life, which is another way that we can get burst lore, but really preferentially we want to be running that with a Maui Shark or 2 on board, which was very relevant in the DKP versus Moyen finals, and I'm going to show a short clip from that game in a minute. But yeah, as I said, no Tamatoas, no Dimes, no Maleficents in here either. Our way of controlling the board is, of course, Brawls for a lot of characters that are very brawl-worthy, such as opposing Flavishams, Aerials, Flynn Rider if we need to, just anything overly aggro. And of course the 4 copies of the dreaded Be Prepared as the ultimate board reset. For characters, at least, because if we can follow up a B-Prep with a couple of juicy McDuck manners, then that's going to be super hard for our opponent to respond to. And of course, as they are incentivized to be challenging into McDuck manners, that means that hopefully our Maui Sharks are online and our Super Goofs for that Super Peanut Powers to Burst Lore. And lots of actions to complement the Maui Shark for Develop Your Brain, for Sail the Azurite Sea, for Vision of the Future. So we're working through the deck, we're finding the pieces that we need. And again, these are all just cheap actions, which with Maui on board, just going to give you bursts of lore. Two copies of Let It Go as well for a bit of additional removal, and How Far I'll Go being one of the most powerful cards in the deck to ramp and help us find pieces that we need. So yeah, it's a tried and tested deck. Ever since DKP won Melbourne with it, it's been pretty popular among the community and found him success on this day. So congratulations to DKP! And in second place, we have another guest of the event. We have Moyen from the Lorcana podcast. Fantastic player. Choosing to only play 3 cards different from the DKP list. Has cut 2 copies of Let It Go and 1 Brawl to put in the 4th copy of Grandma Tala, 1 copy of Sisu Empowered Sibling, and 1 copy of Scar Vicious Cheetah. So despite the fact that we're not playing ice blocks, nor are we playing a shift target, still valuing this big Sisu. Again, we're ramp, so it should be reasonable that most games that we're going to have the ink to be able to play this. And against the SteelSong decks, Emerald, anything aggro, this Sisu is going to have a field day. And even if you just remove an opposing like Flavisham, then that's still fine and you're sticking a 3-lore quester on the board. Scar, of course, being another way that we can control the board. Be Prepared is a fantastic tool, but if we don't find it, or if they play something like Pete, then this Scar can absolutely put in a lot of work and you get nice synergy with the Porpsicles to extend his longevity, because obviously he can only challenge and take out characters for as long as he can stay alive. So these Porpsicles can help us to like really get more bang for our buck out of Scar. But yeah, I don't know if Moyen was already playing a version of Ruby Sapphire, maybe similar to what DKP popularised at Melbourne, or whether it's been inspired since seeing DKP's list. But Moyen's a great player and a great deck builder, and if he's gone this close to the DKP build, then obviously he sees something in it. And yeah, both of them finding themselves in the finals. Worth noting that neither of them played a single mirror match until the finals, so it would have been interesting to see if they'd have struggled in a mirror match, but against the more traditional version of Ruby Sapphire, playing like the Tamatoas and maybe having access to things like Hideaway to help with the manners. But yeah, I do want to show a clip from the stream of these two playing. This is from the Slasher Twitch channel. Again, this will be linked down below. Feel free to go check out the entire event yourself. But we see a situation here. It's currently Moyen's turn, and DKP's got 2 sharks on the board. Moyen's going to ink a Super Goof and just pass. He's got a Tala and a McDuck mana. So these 2 sharks have survived, and DKP now, I'm not sure how much ink he's at, but you've got to imagine a fair amount. He is just free to play as many actions as possible. Starts off with a Develop Your Brain. That's an immediate +2 lore from having these 2 sharks on the board. Pays another ink to play another Develop Your Brain again, and all the while we're finding better cards for our hand. That's another 2 lore for playing an action. Now paying 2 for Vision of the Future. That's another 2 lore just for playing an action and having 2 copies of Maui Shark still on the board. Takes a moment to decide what he wants to keep from this Vision of the Future, for sure. Thinks it over for a moment. No, I think what happened there is he played Vision, drew 2, thinking it was another Develop Your Brain, was looking at the 2 and then was like, hold on, I played Vision, and then drew 3 more. I think that's what just happened there. Nonetheless, another 2 burst lore from the Shark. Now we're going to play a Porpsicle, take another lore, pay another ink to play that Porpsicle. We don't gain lore from that. But we are going to gain lore by having a jolly old sing-song, the Maui Shark. It's karaoke night, and it's a pirate's life for him. That's a +4 lore straight away. 2 from the pirate's life and 2 from having 2 Maui Sharks on the board. And then, hey, you know, one good turn deserves another. How about my other Maui Shark also sings a pirate's life? And gains just another 4 burst lore out of nowhere. And I'm not sure if there's anything else that DKP are doing at this point. You can see the expression on the faces, but like Moyen knows the deal. He's probably been doing this to people all day himself. So he knows the deal. But yeah, does pass, doesn't have anything else to play. Moyen gains 2 from the McDuck mana. But yeah, just a little skip through here. Yeah, so he plays Be Prepared. He quests out. He plays Be Prepared. You can see it in the discard there. But now DKP is just in the perfect position to just throw down. I think it's only one that he has at the time, but immediately throwing down the McDuck Manor to off the back of the Be Prepared, clearing all bodies. And yeah, Moyen has a McDuck Manor himself, but he's only at 3 lore here. So here's a player how far I'll go. Find another key piece. Pass over to Moyen, who's going to gain another 2 lore. He is going to play down a Maui and a Tipo. Yep. Put 6 damage on the mana, because of course he's incentivized to challenge into it. Gains 2 lore from the mana, and down comes the Super Goof. So you see, this deck is kind of just mad. Like we talked in the past, courtesy of Ed, the 2-pronged attack that you get courtesy of characters that can quest, and also the McDuck Manor, which is gaining you lore. But this Super Goof as well, like I feel like it's a tri-pronged attack, to be honest. Yeah, so you see how this can be so powerful if they let a shark or 2 sit there and give you a chance with a lot of ink to just play, make a big turn like that with this high action package, multiple Pirates life. It's just kind of mad. But yeah, huge congratulations to Moyen on 2nd place. Going on to 3rd place now, we have some Emerald Sapphire discard. Specie! So, we are, of course, taking advantage of ramp. We have T-Pose, we have Saudi Azurite Seas, we've got How Far I'll Go for ramp and Divine Pieces, Flavisham for the draw, Grand Martala for the draw. We're also running 2 copies of One Jump Ahead, which is more ramp and not something you'd always see in the Sapphire decks these days, but it has synergy with the Muses as a song, so you love to see it. We're also playing Ice Blocks, super important again for the Muses, which is such a key card in this deck to be able to control the board, because that's what you want to do. You want to spend the early game ramping up. If you can develop a Clarabelle and get a lot of cards, great, but really you're building to be able to play that Bend to My Will as early as possible and hope that you've got cards in your hand courtesy of Clarabelle or a Flavisham or 2 if you can get him to stick. And of course, if you play Your Welcome on the opponent on a problem character, make your opponent draw and then play the Bend to My Will, then Your Welcome does not give them the value that it normally would. Of course, this strategy to ramp and then make them discard is very slow, so we're hoping that after we've controlled the board, we can use Tamatoa and hopefully in conjunction with Lucky Dime to get that burst lore once we've, again, controlled the hand, controlled their board with things like Muses. We've got Mother Knows Best, You're Welcome. Even got 2 copies of Under the Sea in here as well to help with wider boards and, you know, more synergy with the Ice Blocks. The most unique card in this list is 3 copies of Hades, 4-cost Inkable, 3/6 quest for 1. Now, I like this edition. It's another 4-cost singer, and 4-cost is important for Your Welcome, How Far I'll Go, and a couple of those, and you're singing Under the Sea, of course. It's also just another card that you can put down to help control the board early. I think you'd nearly always prefer to be playing Muses. But if you don't hit Muses and you have to play Hades instead, with a 6 willpower, you can maybe hopefully take a couple of favourable trades here. So yeah, like, it's fine. It's got a big butt. Being able to sing 4-cost songs is good. I don't know if I would do this over just going to a max Tal account. I'm sure that's come from experience playing the deck, courtesy of Max. But hey, any excuse to talk about a card that we don't normally talk about. So yeah, this deck's been doing pretty well throughout set 6. Will that continue in set 7? Blooming coil. Anyway, huge congratulations to Max. In top 4, we've got Grovar with some Amber Steel, Diggy Hole, utilising the 7 Dwarves Mine, 2-cost Inkable, 2 to move there, 6 willpower, 1 passive lore, and the first time you move a character there, you do 1 damage. But if it's a knight, you do 2 damage. So we have 4 copies of Doc. Again, we're very much a play our hand out sort of deck, again, unless we get mass Rapunzel value. But even if we do get a lot of Rapunzel value, you're still incentivized to like play out a lot of your hand. We've got a lot of low cost characters, so when we do play it out, we would love to finish that off with a Doc to do a nice refresh, and he's a knight, and we've got 3 copies of Happy, also a knight, and a 1-cost character that hits for 2 is nice. It checks certain things, and the evasive can help you against things like genies and Diablos. And other than that, we're just max aggression. 4 copies of Piglet, 4 copies of Daisy Duck for that questing, 4 copies of Calhoun, again nice 2 lore burst, and a character that can control the board well. Smee with those stats, 2 copies of John Silver, solidifying his place in these Diggy Hole decks. Like if you curve it 1 drop into Piglet, into John Silver, that's super good. If like you take away the only character that they could have feasibly challenged the Piglet with and get an extra quest out of Piglet, that's huge. Or even if it's just Lilo gets an extra turn. He's also a captain, which synergizes really nicely with Mr. Smee if you decide to curve like that. Lawrence here, great stats and great for setting up the Rapunzel traps. 4 beat, of course, to shut down those actions. We've got 3 copies of Chen Po, a nice big bodyguard. Again, if you've got the right sort of board with like Lilos and Piglets and Smees and you're just turning sideways, this Chen Po can absolutely soak up damage. She's tough to remove with a 4 strength and 7 willpower. Even a Maui doesn't one-shot him, so yeah, you can get a lot of use out of Chen Po. And 1 copy of this Cinderella Stout-Hearted, which is by no means a staple in Diggy Hole, but I really like the inclusion. I don't think you would always make the read that a Diggy Hole deck would be playing the Cinderella, because they aren't all playing her, so just the shock value of this out of nowhere, and she is as strong as ever with that resist 2, quest for 3. Singing Sword perhaps a little less relevant in this style of Amber Steel deck than a classical variant, but we've got 4 Storm, 4 Strength, so it could still happen. So yeah, this deck has been, has very much solidified itself as like one of the best ways to play Amber Steel, so a huge congratulations to Grover. And in top 8 our other Amber Steel deck, but this a traditional SteelSong variant running 4 copies of Area Spectacular Singer to find our songs and that Singer 5, sing them on the cheap. 4 copies of Whole New World, so we're just looking to play out as much of our hand as we can, sing Whole New World, refresh, play out a bunch more of our hand. We utilise Pete's if we need to against the red decks for their Be Prepareds. Control the board with our singers. We've got 4 Storm, 4 Strength and 4 Zeus, and 1 copy of the World's Greatest Criminal Mind. A lot of characters in this range, Maui Shark being the predominant one really, but also things like Tamatoa in the more traditional red-blue decks, Maui's Maleficent Dragons, and it can just be ink. We are running a 4/4 Robin Hood line. 1 copy of that Aerial Sonic Warrior, which is pretty nice. With less players playing Medusa now, this is all the harder to remove. Of course, you can just Ice Block Sisu, but still, like, less Medusas in format at least like gives her slightly better odds that she's going to have some longevity, and against non-red decks, she's just going to be hard to remove in general. And this ability to, whenever you sing a song, pay 2 to do an extra 3 damage is super good. Suddenly Storm's hitting for 5, Zeus is hitting for 8, which is very relevant for Tamatoa, so this maps can really be helped by Aerial. 1 copy of Tinkerbell is another nice mid-game threat. We've got 3 Ursas to be a Singer 4, only 2 copies of the Daisy Duck Donald's Date, but we've still got 10 1-drops, and I think that this Gaston is probably meant to be the Baritone Bully, who's a 3-cost Inkable 3/3 quest for 1 with Singer 5, just a more reliable Singer 5, because he cannot be brawled in the early game, so if you really just need to stick a Singer, and he's a nice way to do it. Of course, I could be wrong, and it could actually just be this Gaston, and this player is saying, hey, if I can stick this Gaston, and then the next turn, maybe I can shift Robin Hood, and I can sing Whole New World, and then I can play out more characters from my hand with this -2. Again, I imagine it's the Baritone Bully. It could not be. I hope it's the Baritone Bully, but if it's not, you get the Spice Award for sure, my friend, but congratulations to them. Also in top 8, should have looked at this straight after the top 2 really, but our other Ruby Sapphire list, a more traditional variant, we are playing 4 copies of Tamatoa, 2 copies of Maleficent Dragon, we've got that Sisu engine, 4 Ice Blocks, 4 of the big Empowered Sibling, and 2 of the Daring Visitor. The traditional action package, the Sails, the Visions, the Brawls, only 3 How Far I Go I do think is low, but we've got Let It Go for another removal piece, 2 for Pirate's Life, Vitalosphere's here to get a nice shock challenge turn out of our Maui Shark, and just can help in other situations as well, especially with McDuck Manors being all the more popular in format. And 1 copy of Hideaway to help with those pesky locations. So yeah, huge congratulations to you, Ray Atomic. Also in top 8, we've got TSR Makoya with some Ruby Amethyst. Yeah, I love to see it. My little red purple heart be singing. And this is actually 1 card different from the list that I've been playing for quite a while now. My first Battle Bear top 4, I was still playing Genies, but my second one, only a couple of weeks ago, which I've still not actually shared that deck list, but I took out the Genies and I was playing a list nearly identical to this, but I was playing 1 less Elsa. This is 2 copies, I was only playing 1, and in the place of that Elsa, I was playing an extra copy of Merlin Crab compared to this list running 2. But by and large, I super like this list. I like these 1-drops. You could have, like, we could fill half an hour talking about these 1-drops and their different use cases and which ones you should prioritize in deck building and on turn 1 against certain decks. Generally, this is what I like. I think Diablos, I would like to be a higher count just because in the mid to late game, I think they're a bit more reliable. There's all sorts of mixed synergies, right? You always play the Chernobyl because it's got the 2 strength, which sometimes you need for an opposing Flynn to check a Robin Hood that you don't want to turn sideways. Like, that 2 strength is super valuable, and being able to use this ability on your turn is good. The drawback is it has to sit there for one full turn before you are ever getting a draw off. So it's susceptible to, especially in the mid to late game, to things like a big Sisu or an opposing Elsa 5th Spirit. But generally as a 1-drop, this is super good, and we're always going to play max 4 of these. Magic Brooms, obviously you can get that ability off on your own turn. You play the Broom and then you play something else, immediately draw a card. That is kind of whatever, but if you do combine that with Library, like if you've got a Library and you can go play Broom, move Broom to Library, play a 2 or 3 drop, or even a 1-drop, banish Broom, draw 2, that's super strong, and the fact that you can set that off during your turn. Diablo's advantage obviously is the fact that you are always drawing off, as long as it's banished. Like if it's put in the Inkwell or return to hand, obviously not. But if it's banished in any way, you are always drawing off of this card. So I do love the Diablo, and in the mid to late game against red decks in particular, or even steel decks that you suspect are playing things like grab swords or just have that chip damage potential anyway, then you want the Diablo in the mid to the late part of the game. I do think it's better, but I'm just, like I've said it before, I'm just so scared of turn 1 Merfolk if my 1-drop is Diablo. Like, again, like, it's not, if you've got crabs, then you can still come back, but it's just kind of scary. But yeah, these are the 1-drops that I've been enjoying. 2 ladies, I think is super good. The 4B prep, 2 counter library has been serving me really well. We'd like more, but we just don't want to, I don't want to cut anything else. 3 Maui I think is minimum at the moment with the popularity of locations, and I think 2 crab is minimum, but I'm still on 3. I like, again, McDuck Manor, like, opposing libraries in the mirror are so annoying. You have to answer them, or they do just outvalue you. They highly likely they will just outvalue in the long run. And McDuck Manors, again, especially when, like, you playing B-Prep and then playing a Manor is, like, can be so bad. So I like the idea of being able to go Maui Crab straight away, or at the very least, a Crab on board if they play a McDuck Manor or a Library. If you've got a Fox, like, if you've got a crab, they play a location pass to you and that crab is dry, then a challenge plus Fox, give challenger, finish off the location is a surefire way to answer them. So that's why I'm on 3 Maui, 3 crab, and that was before the DKP McDuck Manor list became so popular. I actually feel like I want to go 4 Maui, 3 crab, or 4 crab, 3 Maui. We'll see. Again, we're coming close to the end of a format. But by and large, I super like this. All of these count. I'm a big fan of. Huge congratulations to Mokoya. And our final list for the day, we've got Bernie with that Kiwi Birds version of Blue Steel. So we're not doing any fancy stuff with items, or we're not even playing Flavisham. We are super low. We're a mid-range deck, but even the first few turns can choke out some very important lore. We are playing 3 copies of McDuck Manor just to create that 2-pronged attack. If we've already got a problematic board with characters that your opponent really wants to be challenging into, adding a McDuck Manor is such a huge headache for them. And 3 copies of Strength and 2 copies of a Boom to just give us alternative ways to control the board. I don't think this deck ever wants to challenge unless it's with Robin Hood. And maybe it doesn't even want to challenge with Smee though, right? It just wants to be questing. But yeah, so that we do have some ways of controlling the board. We've got those non-character cards. Other than that, we're just playing to curve. We do have the 4/4 Robin Hood line. Good quester, good at controlling the board. The 1 cost Sticky Mickey, again, if they are only able to put down just the majority of 1-drops, I'm not going to bet. This Mickey quite often is going to get at least 2 lore. Like, he's just hard to remove. Survives a Storm Rage on. Most of the traditional 1-drops are capping at 2 strength. Don't get me wrong, some Ruby Sapphire decks have been playing Felicia, and I rate it. So there are some cards in 1-drops in format that can get around this, but largely Sticky Mickey is going to be a sticky boy and get you a few lore. Calhoun is the other one that, of course, is going to be happy challenging. Yeah, sorry, silly moment. Yeah, so those are your challengers. Doc, again, we're looking to play. We're just playing our curve. We're not drawing cards. We're just playing our characters out and turning sideways. So Doc is absolutely fantastic in this deck. Smee for the stats. Alice is something that makes it all come together. She's got Ward herself, and when she quests, you give another chosen character 1 lore and Ward. So you can do this, like, if you go Smee into Alice, and then on your turn 4, you can quest with Alice, and then give the Smee Ward and an extra lore pip. You might not always do that, though. You might play the Alice on 3, and not quest with her on 4, because you want to wait until turn 5, and you put down the big bad Gantu, and then you quest with Alice and you give Gantu the extra lore pip and Ward. Admittedly, he can't quest that turn, so you're quote-unquote wasting the lore pip, but sometimes just being able to put out a Gantu and give it Ward is huge. We've also got John Silver, which is a way that we can stop our opponent challenging and hopefully keep our Alice safe. Pete for those pesky actions. Pluto's going to be a great follow-up on your curve. 2-drop into Alice, into Pluto. Some decks are going to be able to answer it, but some, they're just not going to be able to deal with the Pluto and the Alice, so you're going to ensure her survivability. Cogsworth, again, just a super resilient card in terms of the math problems he creates for the opponent with that blanket resist 1, and you don't turn him sideways until you're literally going for game. So Cogsworth, the Grandfather Clock, old, reliable, and 2 copies of Baymax. Again, he's a 2-quester, and this on-playability can absolutely catch people off guard, and we've got a lot of big butts here. The Alice, the Scrooge McDuck, the Pluto, any of our 5-drops. Good odds that there's going to be some damage there that we can suddenly heal and gain 2 lore, and an excuse for people to play their promo Baymaxes. So yeah, this is a deck that has been grown very popular since its popularization courtesy of Justin and Harlan Sweet, and finding success in the Battle Bear 222 of a 222 player event. So huge congratulations to Bernie. And there we have it. So yeah, a huge event. Again, great to see these larger events in the EU with like top tier prize support. And yeah, I'm super gutted that I wasn't able to go. I was having serious FOMO watching the event, but I did thoroughly enjoy watching the event, and hopefully I get to attend one in the future. Just a bit of admin concerning schedule. I'm annoyed. I gave myself a challenge to I haven't been very happy with my upload schedule as of late, and I made myself a challenge, like, okay, I'm going to upload a video every day for the next 7 days, and I got 6, and then couldn't do the 7th day, so I was annoyed at myself for that. But this one's coming out on the 17th, and then the 18th and the 19th will be cracking on with some more card reviews, and then the 20th or the 21st I will do the final set championship showcase video. Again, apologies, it's super late and it's taken me a while too, but I promised I would get through them all, and get through them all I will. But that's going to be it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show support, and we'll see you soon.